Hey, boys and girls, we're gonna go over a video where TopDawg, for some reason, you were on that stream for 6 hours or something. Like
a little bit longer than that.
What the fuck's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
I'm patient.
Okay, so
I listen.
But the last part of the stream, they were doing Bible stuff, weren't they, and trying to convert you and shit like that?
I think it was just two people talking to each other more.
Yeah, you sat there and listened to them? God, I would have died. I would have I would have fucking taken the suicide option. I don't know. You got a lot of stamina, dude. I couldn't.
Well, he's got a lot of like tabs open at the same time, so he's always entertaining.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he has ways to relieve his. Yeah.
But at the end, I heard you say you had been up for 24 hours.
Yeah. Now that's not good. No, that's not good. Get plenty of sleep, TopDawg.
I do.
Sleep whenever you can.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So I'm gonna try to share a screen if I can find the right one. So there's a James Tour video. That's act.
Clean your act.
I just can't watch that guy.
Well, I will eventually. It's just, that's a big time commitment.
Well, the other thing is that he doesn't really make very good points at all. In what I watched of him, it's mostly just him going over how difficult a synthesis is, right? And organic synthesis is really, really precise, and I can see why synthetic organic chemists have this feeling that, it can't happen any other way, because they work their asses off to do all these really interesting reactions, and it's difficult. And but that's what he does, and that does not refute abiogenesis at all, not in the least. And I don't understand. Did you have a video up too?
Just where we left off yesterday.
Oh, okay. So what timestamp did we leave off on?
I have it in the private chat.
Okay.
The first link.
Oh, but can you tell me what the timestamp is, because I've got a video up here.
Hour 54.
Oh, okay. So I started at like 2:17. So maybe we should go back to an hour 54. Was there stuff there?
Still reviewing the one video, the first video.
Okay, but it was just pretty much reviewing the video. So I kind of
every point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can play it a little bit. Let me switch over my sound system so I don't echo so much. Hi, Scott. Did you say something, Scott?
No, I did not. But
Why
you
not?
said something about echoes.
Yeah, well, I get an echo if I'm not on headphones.
Oh, okay. So it's your experience. Yeah, I got caught. You caught me reading that Damer Dahmer paper. I was looking at his testable hypotheses, the testable portions of the hypothesis section. So I do apologize.
Yeah, we're supposed to get through that today at some point. Also, but I had other plans too. I was going to talk about Scientism 201, Scientism class 201. It's a new part of the series.
With Jay Panic?
No, with you.
With me? Oh, okay.
Yeah, where I can explain it to you.
I thought you were going to explain it to Jay.
I'm not even sure if that's. Yeah, I don't even know if that's going to work.
Okay. All right.
I need somebody who who probably doesn't have a lot of opinions about philosophy up front.
Well, you got me. That's me. You just described me.
Yep. Because I don't think it's going to help to have a prefab opinion on this stuff, because this goes in a very different direction than the typical philosopher. So Ruth Millikan, however, makes a pretty good case for naturalizing intentions and normativity.
Do you have
And
that book in front of you? What's her definition of scientism?
I don't think she talks about scientism.
Oh, okay.
I'm the only one.
Sorry,
I'm the only one fucking crazy enough to claim to be a scientist.
Yeah.
Scientismist. You have to be kind of brave to do that. Let's see if she has a thing on scientism. No, she does not mention it. Well, no, that's author. Okay, she has two indexes: index of analytical terms and index of technical terms. Okay, here's technical.
Very interesting.
Yeah, let's see if scientism is in here. Nope, shouldn't talk about it. Okay.
We have a couple requests for links.
No one gets one. Oh yeah, okay.
So maybe towards the end of the presentation.
Let me put the link out in public. I guess we can. If this had been a philosophy talk, no one's getting a link. No one's getting in. The topic is a Danish debater. The topic is a praise video that TopDawg Shadok appeared in. Shadok. I'm sorry. Did I say Shadok?
Maybe.
I like that sometimes. That's kind of cool. So, okay. So let's go. We'll take a look at this, but if it doesn't go anywhere, I want to jump ahead to the links that I've got. You see the links I've got on the right here?
Yep.
And
after the video is done, I guess.
352.
Now, Speed, can I say something really quick?
You could try. I might put you in a back room if you piss me off, but go ahead.
No, I'm not trying to piss you off. I'm just saying that you told me it was only 3 people for philosophy, and yet I saw Leo, there was like 4 of them.
I let him in because I tapped out because I was done.
Plus, that was an instance on Immutable's part.
Yeah.
Well, Immutable. Never mind. Moving on. But yeah, I just wanted to be like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. No, I didn't. Immutable sent Leo the link, and I did not send Leo the link, and Leo decided to come in, and I didn't really want it to get crowded. So anyway, that's the way it works sometimes. So I brought him in because I tapped out of it. I was done. I was finished.
I mean, I need to go back and watch it, but I guess it seems like Immutable was getting on your nerves.
He's strawman. He wanted me to accept his strawman version of scientism, and I refused. And then he refused to admit that that's what he was doing, or he refused to understand that that's what he was doing. So I'm done with it. I'm done with talking to him about it.
All right.
And then and then it got even worse when I showed him a linear transformation. They insisted it wasn't a linear transformation.
And wow, I have nowhere to go.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I'm a little irritable. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Do you know what an analogy?
Oh, hang on a second. Okay, can you guys hear it? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Is?
Yeah.
Do you know what a hypothetical is?
Yeah.
No,
I'm just saying.
I realize that I just used both of those concepts to try to explain something to you.
I'm a
Isn't that also a fallacy?
What is a fallacy?
That analogy?
Analogies are not necessarily fallacies, no.
But yours are.
Can you believe he's asking about analogies?
Yeah, he's just one of these smug little assholes.
No, but I mean the fact, analogy is something that they don't understand. They think analogy.
Yeah, they don't get it, which to me, it's just odd.
Because you can't. I mean,
they can be.
You can't disprove anything 100%. So.
I can disprove that A does not equal B.
What did I just do? I don't
If
know
I can prove that
know
A
I did.
equals 1 and B does not
Oh, yeah.
equal 1.
I guess
Well,
5 is
mathematics
best.
is the way
Yep.
to do it, I guess. Only in its mathematics itself,
But
it works.
logic
I
is the same thing as math. Logic is the same thing as math.
What if I were to tell you that the smallest known protein is the chance of getting that protein, the smallest one, is greater than, or is 1 divided by a number greater than the number of atoms in the universe
Wrong.
by
Wrong. Smallest
many orders of magnitude.
smallest protein is more like 15, 17 that we found that's active, and there he's using Otangelo's argument here. So anyway,
Also, I remember a paper where they said even a short random peptide can bind to minerals like iron and such.
Yep.
So
Yep.
even they are very easily functional.
Yeah, what they don't understand about the protein space is that about 25% of those proteins do something. I mean, they're functional. And so that means you can run into a functional loop. You're going to run into other domains very quickly. I mean, it isn't as sparse as we used to think. And also the folding of proteins, some proteins fold pretty automatically. And not all proteins do. Some require sort of being isolated for a little while before they'll fold up. And there are some chaperones that actually alter what the path of folding would be, but that's what we would expect in evolution. But they do not understand the protein space because we don't entirely understand it yet. I mean, there's a whole lot to be learned about domains. And then the other thing is they found protein domains can be, like 10 or 5, 10, even 4 amino acids long. And those things are copied if they're copied throughout. I mean, we have examples of phylogenies in proteins where there's sort of a mix and matching of protein domains. And one protein will it will basically attach to something else. And then another little thing will come along and do some enzymatic reaction. And some of these domains, proteins have 10, 20 domains. And they seem to be run along exons, which is interesting because the evolution of introns in eukaryotes was always a question, why introns? And it seems to be that one of the reasons for that to have been naturally selected is that these proteins could mix and match domains. So,
well, I've read Nick Lane's book, The Vital Question, and he gives a very different proposal for why there are introns in the genome. Although the specifics I don't remember that much because it's very technical, but it's basically like there are like parasitic DNA in the genome, and in bacteria they are like more or less suppressed. Like they are in bacteria they are like the genome size is really constrained by the energetics of the cell. The eukaryotes, they have a lot more energy to sustain a very large genome, even junk. And then the parasitic DNA can jump around and also insert themselves within the genes themselves. So that's why we have like introns, and many introns are also transposable or contain transposable elements.
Okay, but then there's how the intron happened, and then what the effect of having introns was. And if domains run along exons, then mixing and matching and duplication of proteins and viral influences on proteins can create new de novo proteins.
But that might be a consequence that was later accepted. But the initial formation of introns might be just a happenstance.
Yeah, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about how they were selected, but I'm talking about how they would have had an effect of diversifying life very quickly, multicellular life, because we would have had a lot of de novo protein formation, right? Okay, so introns can do that. Okay, we'll move on a little bit.
What would that tell you?
What?
Just really hard.
And especially when it goes backwards instead of forwards, it's really hard.
Do you understand like the difference between 1 out of a million and 1 out of a billion?
Is it worth going through all of this? Because this is going to be like...
And
You can
one
fast
is
forward a
1,000
couple
times more likely than the other. That's the difference.
Who is that guy? Who is that condescending twit?
Argotha.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Maybe junk. Huh. Okay. Do you have
Just
any...
a little bit after this.
Okay.
He says something. I'm
Okay.
thinking of a million
What are we
things right
talking
now,
about?
actually. That's why it's hard to really know what you're... Because I'm not
Well,
fast forwarding.
first off,
Something
you're not.
right now I'm not really thinking about.
You're not thinking of a million things right now because that's not actually
You can fast forward a
possible
little
for
bit.
human brain.
It's an analogy or, really a lot of things. Like not like a jack of all trades.
Okay.
I'm based on trying to think of
A million
The
seconds
video's
is
flawed.
11 days.
just a little bit more.
Seconds is 31,000 years.
Okay,
Going up 3 orders of magnitude tell you that
I thought it was
A trillion.
after that.
the complexity of a simple protein of only 200 amino acids in length,
Okay, he's
or
going
than
on
the
with
number of atoms in
he's doing the back of the envelope calculation that they love to do.
the universe.
Do something
It's
with
not,
intelligence.
it's
It's less
not.
complex relation.
At what point does it not
The
become
entire
fantasy?
planet could process a
Go
single
back a little
protein.
bit. It was right at that time.
Complex.
I
It's
said when you
something.
do a little bit
It's
more
not,
intelligence,
it's
it's
What's that?
a little bit more back. Less complex.
The complexity of that protein is 118 orders of magnitude more than
That's
the
it.
number of atoms in the universe.
More.
That was it. Nature is complex, but when you do something
It's
with
not.
intelligence, there. Nature is complex, but with intelligence, it's less complex.
Yeah, they're just doing the back of the envelope calculation, which
In relation.
means that, and I think you tell them a couple times you do not understand natural selection, and it was not random, and they keep going back to random, and their back of the envelope calculation is about the random creation of proteins that are modern
Also,
proteins that are extant, right?
Also, he assumes that like that only one combination of these number of amino acid sequences is functional. Like only one specific sequence of this, like a 250 he says or something. I don't know what he says, but even like he assumes that only one specific sequence is functional. But there's a lot of redundancy in the sequence space of proteins. So
Yeah.
even that is not true. Hi, Danny. Hello.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to the part where I say stuff that Speed disagrees, or not yet?
Yeah, we're getting to that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now let's see what Argotha says after I say that. I think
That was a good interview yesterday, by the way, Danny.
Did y'all really like it? I mean,
Yeah.
My Discord friend said that he talked a lot, but I'm like, what the heck? It's an interview.
Yeah, he
Like,
talks a lot.
I'm not supposed to talk a lot. I'm supposed to like ask the right questions, and that's it.
Maybe they were thinking you're supposed to debate him.
No, that was not the point. There were things I didn't understand and things I definitely disagreed on, but it wasn't meant for that.
Right. You did a pretty good job. That was a great interview.
Maybe you ought to include little 10-minute follow-up videos where you give your impressions and your points of disagreement and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe. That's a thought. I don't want to deter others, right? I don't want. Oh, you're gonna dissect me like you did the other guy, I don't want, But that's a good thought, anyways. Maybe like on points of agreement, or like I really liked. I know it was kind of mundane, but I really liked how he cashed out the two extremities of addiction where like you might think that it's just pathogenic and it's not their fault, all the way to like you just blame them for everything. There's like a middle ground. Do y'all remember that? I liked
yeah.
I really liked that anyway.
Yep. That is the toughest part about addiction to understand. Where your own will and responsibility ends and, you know, the disease takes over.
It's like a collaboration with your body and your behavior.
And we should talk about it later, maybe at 2, and y'all can finish this up.
Yep. Okay. So what else we got here, TopDawg?
I think it's just a few more seconds, and then we could fast forward a little bit more.
Okay.
At what point does another
The
become
entire
fantasy?
planet, if the entire universe, all of the atoms were each supercomputers that could process a single protein, the whole universe would not have gotten one yet.
Oh, that is just
Wait,
such bullshit.
what? Are you guys ready to watch?
I'm so confused. What do you say?
Evolution has been tested maybe more than any other theory we know of.
Why is he trying to build it up? If he's trying to build it up, then that's the whole. I mean, he's debunking his own premise. So if it doesn't need to be built up if it's true.
Well, he's just like everybody else. He assumes that evolution is true, and he's just explaining the difference between fact theory, hypothesis, and law, assuming that because everybody said so, evolution is a theory. Well, I guess he says evolution is a fact, and evolution by natural selection is a theory because we observe quote unquote evolution. Therefore, all of evolution is a fact.
He thinks evolution is a fact. That's a flaw.
Okay, that's kind of an interesting point right there. And the reason that we believe evolution is a fact is because we observe evolution happening at a level that we understand will easily project into the past and create major changes, because mutation does happen and we can observe that, right? So if we can observe mutations and we can observe selection on those mutations, if we can observe that now, then what is to keep it from happening a lot over time?
I am
Nothing.
living proof of it. I'm living proof of it. I am living proof of evolution. I mean, if it wasn't for evolution, albinos wouldn't exist.
Yeah, what you're not proof of is selection, though.
True. Well, fuck you.
Okay. Anyway, so moving on.
You.
That's an error. It's not
If
a
the
fact.
hypothesis have passed the rigorous testing.
It's not. No rigorous testing was ever done. It's always
What?
been fantasy and never graduated from the level of fantasy and imagination and conjecture.
Are you saying that all scientific theories are?
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
I don't have anything
I
substantial to
said
say.
evolution is
It's
all
because-
imagination, fantasy, conjecture,
It's the
assumption,
same.
assertion, nothing more. Nothing
Chad,
more.
Same with all the other scientific theories, I'm saying.
No.
Jungle can go smoke another doobie.
I mean, he's not even high. That's the thing. Jungle Jargon has his own really messed up issues.
If I ever had a stream, like a show like this speed, I would never let people in like Jungle Jargon ever. I don't know why anyone lets people like Jungle.
I had a pretty good talk with him actually on I think it was on Smokey's channel before Smokey snaked out on me, and I actually had a pretty good talk with Jungle.
Well, and I'm not saying that he's like a bad person or that he's like just not even like likable. It's just that he doesn't contribute anything.
Yeah, well, that's a problem, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I can't remember what we talked about, but it was fun.
I remember I was in an off-air hangout with him once, and I basically I explained in very simple terms something like it's like the SpongeBob with the supervillain. You know the meme. Like, is this your wallet? Like your name on it? Yes. So it's your wallet, right? No. What? Like I just explained to you the simplest thing, and yet you still don't get it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna let this play for a while I find something.
Not the same as the scientific laws and the theories. Not the same as gravity.
There's
Not
a
the
reason
same.
why.
Not the same.
There's a reason why.
Yeah, it's better than gravity even.
Shattuck.
Not
There is a
even
law.
close.
There is a
Well,
logical
evolutionary
reason
theory is
made
actually better
for
supported
making
than the theory of
the
gravity.
observation that mutations cause changes in animals, and epigenetics cause changes in animals across generations, and then extrapolating that to thinking that an elephant and a monkey have a common ancestor. We know that animals can change over time.
That's not how we do it either.
So we have never been able.
Okay, so that's interesting. So, what did you say?
I have no like. There might be some idiot somewhere, always, of course, but I've never heard anybody say like, evolution, by the minimal definition, like the process, like we have observed evolution happening. Therefore, elephants and monkeys have a common ancestor. No, I have heard nobody say that. Nobody. Of course, there might be some idiot somewhere, but still.
They're leaving out a whole lot of theory and a whole lot of fossil evidence and genetics and phylogenetics and pretty much the whole field to say that. Nobody just made that leap.
And I agree. Like common ancestry and evolution are different things. Like, of course, within the theory of evolution, like of the modern theory that we know today, they're of course like unified into one big model. But of course, we won't say the process of evolution therefore proves common ancestry. That's not what we do.
And their mention of epigenetics, they keep thinking that epigenetics can account for all sorts of things like dog breeds, and that I do not believe is the case. There's something about the length of the nose on a dog that was not epigenetic. It was an actual mutation. And their go-to is epigenetics, and epigenetics basically, environment is going to influence the expression of genes to a certain extent, but it has a very, very tight constraint as to what it can do. And then
if you go finish you, and then I will say my piece.
So what they're confusing is that there can be a small change in basically a promoter or some small RNA that will change the epigenetics, and you'll end up with speciation as a result of that change, but you're still looking at mutation to make that epigenetic change. So they conflate the two things, the environmental influence on epigenetics, which has, the tight constraint, and then the greater influence, which would be small RNAs and promoters, can create an epigenetic modification in the species. So now, but they're two very different things, and they don't understand anything about epigenetics. So they think it's magic. Go ahead. That's like.
I also find it very strange and also a bit disappointing that they often focus on the transgenerational aspect of epigenetics, which is real. There are a few examples of how epigenetics can extend beyond generations, although it seems to be limited to 3 or maybe 4, something like that.
Yeah,
even
and then
even then. The very interesting aspect of epigenetics is actually how it occurs within the same generation. Like, for example, one of my favorite examples is vernalization in plants. Like, you have some plants that need a very long cold period in order to eventually sprout flowers in the summer.
Yeah,
and it's called vernalization, and that happens via epigenetics.
Yeah, tomatoes. Require a certain bandwidth of temperature at night. Otherwise, they won't. The buds will fall off. They won't form tomatoes. And then,
vernalization is what happens in specific forms of wheat. If the seeds don't after a few weeks of cold. The epigenetics suppresses a certain protein, but if it's interrupted by a very warm day, then it resets back towards where it starts. So it has it's epigenetic stores a memory in sort of a way from the environment. So yeah.
Yeah, I think they found fungi that actually were the epigenetic change lasted for 100 generations, but I don't know if we found it anywhere else in eukaryotes.
That's interesting.
Other than more than 3, but they have found it in fungi, which is interesting.
Yeah,
but then they would take that one finding, and even though they deny almost all of the scientific papers, they would take that one finding and they would affirm that one.
Yeah, they say that we're doing the one study or something, or one person doing it, and when they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, kind of like ribosomal pausing. Basically, we found a few examples of it, so therefore every protein requires it. That's bullshit.
No.
Okay, moving on.
To demonstrate how it could go from a different kind to the kind that it is today.
Do you even know what a kind is? What about a eukaryote?
They warp.
Somebody feedback in bed.
They warp.
So if we're eukaryote kind, then what does that mean to you?
Well, when I say kind, I mean biblical kind, which are generally around the
everything
level.
has to grow the same way. Everything has to grow. Just because they all grow doesn't mean they're the same kind.
So what's wrong with observing reality?
We're talking to you about reality. We're talking to you what the reality.
I just wanted to point out that when he says, I'm talking about the biblical kind, that's not saying anything. The Bible doesn't say what a kind means just a broad general adjective of things that are that are similar in some way. And they don't define kind. And that's one of the huge problems of creationism that makes it pseudoscientific, is that it's a lot more generalized than it ought to be. I guess you can say the same thing about species or families, but it seems like it on the biology side, it's a little more precise, even though there might be some demarcation problems.
So what do they think about the horse kind, zebra kind, and donkey kind?
Yeah.
Why are they able to interbreed? They just call it the horse kind anyways?
I think they call it the horse kind. They believe everything came out of that one horse kind.
They think it's the modern version too, not like a common ancestor.
They're having to guess because the Bible doesn't explain anything.
Right. They've been working on Brahmanology forever, and I don't think they've gotten very far, because it doesn't tell you in the Bible which kinds were, the original. So
the ones that reproduce, they say.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? A lion could have jumped off the ark and turned into a house cat, or it was a house cat. We don't know.
You mean that's a common ancestor that was lions and house cats share?
Yeah.
So it starts at the top of the ramp where they're getting off, and he jumps off the ramp, and somehow in midair he transforms into a cat. That's sound. Of course, now how do we get lions?
Or into 5 different species, and then they go out to their spots in the world.
So they like split up.
Yeah, they run.
They're like tribbles. They just sort of divide and then evolve.
And they run really fast. They migrate like fucking crazy, because they end up spreading over the entire earth in 1,000 years or whatever. So they got to go really
how
fast.
The story of Sonic Hedgehog came about.
Yeah. And the reason that they run real fast is because when they got off the ark, they were right shoulder to shoulder with predators.
Yes, they were. Dinosaurs even.
You'd think one of those kinds would have gotten eaten, I mean, if there was only one pair of them, right, a male and a female, all you got to eat is one of them. And boom, your kind is gone. So I don't know. Just saying.
Well, we've come up with a plausible mechanism, so it must be so.
Yep.
Reality is.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with observing reality. The point is that they make a leap in logic from observing that changes happen between generations and animals, and then stating that this means we all came from a single-celled organism.
We have DNA now that we can test what's related and stuff. Just like we have the what's it called, 23 industry.
You're right.
It's all different information. None of the information is the same. It's all different information.
We have
the
DNA.
same tests that test who's related to human or any other animal. We can see who it's related.
We have DNA of a whole bunch of people across the planet, and we, or actually Nathaniel Jensen, has compiled this information and used the science that we use for basically figuring out where your grandparents came from and all that stuff. He used a higher mutation rate than would.
Yeah, and nobody accepts Nathaniel Jensen.
Wait a minute. Well, is he going to claim that Jensen has determined higher mutation rates in, like, go back and let him speak, because I hope he's not going to do what I think it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. What does he say here?
Anybody who hasn't seen Dr. Dan's videos, and as well as I guess David Neff, he did some research on this too. Basically, a takedown of what's the name of his book? Something about replacing Darwin. Yeah, that's what it's called, Replacing Darwin.
Yeah.
A very sorry excuse for a book. The methodology is called into question. The conclusions are called into question quite thoroughly. And so
he doesn't really have a methodology. Like it's just like, oh, this is my prediction, but I'm going to leave it at that. Like it's all right, like my job is done.
But yeah, he says if we're citing Jensen as this great source, then
and Jensen hasn't published anything in peer-reviewed journals that I know of. It's all been AIG.
He's from Harvard.
And the reason for that, he uses Excel spreadsheets to do all these models, and I don't. His models are pretty simplistic. He uses pedigrees, but they said, what is it here? Compiled information, use the science that we use for basically figuring out where the grandparents came from and all that stuff. And he used a higher mutation rate than would be acceptable by evolutionists. Right. That's his fucking problem. He got it from pedigrees, which you cannot do and have it make sense. But it is acceptable for young Earth creation as a model. And he gets 3 different haplogroups at the base of the tree. And then from there, he has plotted out known human history. And so have a bunch of other people. And they came up with a different human history than Jensen did. Interesting. But there's a bunch of PBS series, I think, or is it not a Royal Society, but one of them, PBS Eons, I think. And they have a number of speakers that do this stuff professionally with real tools. And they talk about, human history and how we can plot out all of, the migrations that happen in Europe and China and all that. And they come up with very different ideas than Jensen did. So why, if Jensen's ideas are so good, why aren't they published? Peer review published? I don't think.
Big science, man. Big science.
Yeah, big science in the way.
Yeah, the peer review process is the watchdog for big science. They don't want any rabble rousers.
Yeah.
So they filter them out.
Let's see. I think I read a little far ahead, but let's see.
Be acceptable by evolutionists, but is acceptable for the young Earth creation model. And he gets to 3 different haplogroups at the base of the tree. And then from there, he has plotted out known human history throughout that genome based off of a mutation rate in the DNA.
And the Y chromosome.
He has done real science, made predictions beforehand, and there are videos.
Did you want to say something, Nestle?
Yeah, like he mentioned, he said that Jensen has determined 3 haplogroups, but he hasn't. He just shows an unrooted tree, and he says, "Oh, here are the 3 nodes that are the 3 wives of the sons of Noah." But he needs to root the tree first in order to say that these are the ancestral nodes of everyone alive. So he hasn't determined that at all.
Yeah, that's his famous diagram, which he has never given anybody the data for. He simply points you to the 1000 Genome Project, but he doesn't show the exact information that he used. And I don't think he ever shows you the exact way that he created that graph.
Yeah.
So, and people have asked him, I think Dr. Dan has asked him a number of times, and he just refuses to pony up. But those you could actually make those as a force graph, I think, and you can move them around to where you want them. You can make it look like Batman if you wanted with a force graph. If you just drag the nodes around, that sort of thing. I don't know if that's what he did, but it occurred to me. But I can't tell because he won't pony up the goddamn model, that he used.
If he would make a diagram that looked like Batman, I'd believe him.
That would be awesome. Yep, we could prove Batman. Okay, moving on. So where are we? We're at 202, and I have a bookmark at 217.
Of him making the predictions. There's a book that he wrote before he did all of the research where he made the predictions and he published the book with the predictions in it. And then he went and he did the science. He did the math, he did the tests, and he has shown that with our model, we can accurately predict known human history.
Yeah, and I don't think any of that's really happened. He's got a 20-hour video series on AIG, and I tried watching it and finding his predictions, and I tried looking in the book for his predictions, and I can't put the two together. So I think they're kind of I think they made this shit up, but I'd love to see somebody come up with an actual prediction, show it to me in the book, and then show it to me later where he did the science and prove to me that he did the science after he came up with the model. I don't know.
You're talking about Jensen?
Yeah.
That guy's really making some bold claims. I don't, from what I've seen quoted and done from that book, I just don't think he made that huge a strong prediction. He does think you go back to 6,000 years or whatever, but his model has been shown to be inaccurate.
Well, he makes all kinds of crazy claims about human history, and I think some of it follows the research that has been done, but we'd have to look at it in detail. And it's a 20-hour series. I mean, and most of the time you're listening to Ken Ham, basically him and Ham in a circle jerk, so it's really hard to watch. There isn't much that happens.
Well, you just don't want just a prediction. You want a novel prediction.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Right. So DNA supports young Earth creation.
I don't think that's how it works.
What is not?
You're doing the same thing as science is saying that your version is just because
we just explained to you what the facts are. Those are the facts.
What I stated were facts.
Those it's supposed to be new. It's not supposed to be something we already know. It's supposed to be something new.
Wait, what do you think that we already knew?
The things that
the mutation rate.
Supposed to predict the things that you're trying to predict.
The mutation rate. He took the mutation rate and
I don't think you understand. Like
and calculate it back, and it goes back 6,000 years.
Okay, it's been a half hour.
You can't do that.
Oh, the false video.
This is very ironic. Can you pause for a moment?
You got to use foreskin rules.
This is just very ironic. Like they previously complained about us extrapolating from evolution to go backwards to a common ancestor, but here they're using mutation rates to extrapolate back to
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, yeah, but you cannot do that just by simple mutation rates because the mutations get lost over time because of drift and selection, which they don't account for, as Dr. Dennis pointed out. Anyway. Yep.
Okay.
No,
I don't really know what we're talking about anyway.
Let's watch more of the false video.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
False video.
Of the fact of evolution. What about something as fundamental as gravity?
What is he basing his fact in? What epistemology? See,
what about it,
here, Danny?
Hey,
gravity is observed.
Why y'all trying to reason with TopDawg?
Evolution is not observed.
I'm a rational human being first before
I claim labels. Because he's trying. He's trying.
Well, Danny might have something to say about that.
I mean, no, it's nothing. It's not even. I'm not even like. I'm legitimately like. Why?
I'm the Otangelo.
Give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's trying.
No, I know. No, I like TopDawg, and he's cool. But
I don't dislike him either. I'm just saying that, like, what's the point?
He's unreasonable. Is that what you're suggesting?
What's the point? Why are we here?
Because you guys won't try to be rational, or what?
We're trying to talk facts. No, we're talking facts. Now, what your video is not talking facts. It's talking fantasy.
Because I think the video was talking about facts, wasn't it?
fact versus theory versus hypothesis versus law.
It's an educational video.
And the video just explains like the concepts of how the terms facts, theory, and hypotheses are used in science.
Yeah,
that's all. It's not. Yeah, it's just. Oh, this is how we use these terms in the literature.
And they want their terms to be the ones that are science instead of actual science.
Yep. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Because you don't understand, you make it.
Okay.
It seems like
I can't understand what never happened. I will never be able to understand what never happened, what never actually happened, and what has no facts. Evolution has no facts. Never happened. No way I can understand how it happened if it never happened.
No facts.
It's just a troll. It's easy to understand in imagination, but it's hard to understand reality.
Yeah, evolution is imagination.
Yep.
And then you can't understand it because it's real life.
No, you have to prove that it's based on facts. You haven't proved that it's based on fact.
Okay, hold on. Let's back up, because Top, I really don't think that you understood the implications of what I stated. Nathaniel Jansen, through his work, using a mutation rate, a presumed mutation rate that was way too high for evolution to be true, he used that rate and tracked the genetics of all of these humans and built a tree from it using math. It's math. It's a mathematical model that everybody uses to test genetics.
Right.
And he traced known human history,
which varies.
Time periods.
Which varies, but it's all averages out about 6,000 years.
If his mutation rate was wrong, then it would not have matched human history.
Right.
We'd have to check them. Somebody should look at those Jensen videos and see what he said. One of the things I think he said about human history is that the Native Americans came over. When was it? After the Romans, like in like 700 or something like that. That's when Native Americans moved into the Americas.
That is not true at all.
Well, they claim that.
Is he a Mormon?
He claims the Romans chased him out. Basically,
was Jensen a Mormon? Like more like the Indians were like the last tribe of Jews or something like that. Like that's so weird. Like, oh my god. All right. Anyway,
I don't know if Jensen has said that, but I know some of the other creationists have said that. Standing for Truth basically said that. 500 it was. 500 AD is when Native Americans got into the Americas.
Also pretty cringy. Like if you look at Jensen, like speculating about the three wives, of like the mitochondrial ancestors, the three wives of the sons of Noah. He says like, oh, one of them was the ancestor of Europeans, one of them was the ancestor of like Africans, and one of the ancestors of Asians. Like basically, it begins to dabble in like scientific racism a bit, just a bit.
Yep. Okay, so somebody noted Osel had a stream last night, which I just popped into for 2 seconds, but looks like David found something here. We'll have to take a look at it at some point.
Sure. So that whole statement about how it follows human history, this guy believes that the Earth is 6,000 years old and Noah's flood took place, 4,000 years ago? So that's not human history. He's kind of not being full disclosure. That's not human. So even if the numbers did come up to 6,000, like Jensen made them, that's not human history.
Well, I have a quick question. Wouldn't the Earth on the dinner model technically be 10,000 years old because one day is like 1,000 years, right? So there's like the 6-day creation and then 7th day he created man. So technically the Earth is only 10,000 years old on the model.
That's a kind of a hybrid of young Earth creationism that some people make, but generally the age-day theory isn't that one day is equal to 1,000 years in the creation. It's just that one day could be any large amount of time. It's just like an epoch or
yeah. But I remember that. I remember
that's a theistic evolutionist way to say God created the earth, but used evolution to.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about like evolutionary creationism or evolutionary theists. Like I'm talking about the ones who believe that 6,000 years old, and also they believe that the one day to us is 1,000 years to God, or 1,000 years to us is one day to Him. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if it's.
Well, that's kind of what was being put out in churches 60 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, before the young earth creationists got their word in. And
yep.
I don't know. And that is the reasonable way to look at it. But okay, so he makes a case here about if Jensen's mutation rate hadn't been right, then his history would have been wrong. And I don't know if his history is right. We'd have to look at the videos. But who the hell's going to look at 20 hours of videos? I don't know.
His history is wrong. Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Speed, you have the time, right?
Yeah, right. So another thing is, in that 6,000 years, we had ice ages, not just one, but several. Those glaciers just built up in a couple of years and then melted down in a few more years. I don't think so. In a few hundred years. I mean, how do they cram the ice age into this shit? It doesn't quite work. I don't know.
The simplest point you can point out is the heat problem. Like, you cannot have the heat escape from the system fast enough. Otherwise, you would melt the entire Earth, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, they think the heat somehow turned into mechanical energy and moved the continents, and that was their heat sink. But the problem with that is, if you had that much heat, it would have melted the continents that it was trying to move.
Yeah.
So
you won't have continents anymore. They will just
lava.
Break lava and smelt, and
vapor, probably vapor, rock
probably,
vapor, right? But they believe that that's what moved the continent so fast. Somehow the heat turned into mechanical energy with pretty great efficiency in order to not melt the continents, right? So I don't understand what the hell they're thinking, but they just kind of gloss over that one. So, okay, moving on a little bit here.
And of course, we know it matches human history anyway.
Right. That means that the mutation rate that he selected, and I don't know how he came up with the mutation rate beforehand. I don't know enough about his research, but he selected this mutation rate, and that mutation rate has been backed up with scientific predictions that came true over and over.
Is it mitochondria Eve you're talking about?
It's mitochondrial.
That's a label. That's a name.
He doesn't go back so far as mitochondrial Eve. He goes back to the first three haplogroups, which would they line up with the time frame of when the flood is recorded in the Bible, and it's 3 people, 3 women.
Also one thing to say, reality. Blood is reality.
That's like you have to do foreskin.
Sorry.
Okay.
They again mentioned the 3 wives of the sons of Noah, but even Jensen's own unrooted tree, no matter where you put the root, at least one of the wives, so-called wives of Noah, will be the ancestor of the other ones. At least one. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you can put the root wherever you want. It will still have a grandmother-daughter relationship between those 3 wives. And how they square that circle, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, you're assuming they square the circle to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or maybe they don't. Never mind.
Okay,
are we ready? Afskin.
Jensen did scientific research that is reality.
And but still, you're missing something.
Bible tells
only one guy too.
No, you're assuming that known human history is mythological.
What?
That's what you're assuming.
Why do we have things that are over 10,000 years old that has been recorded?
See, now you just jumped to dating methods which are invalid to begin with. Your dating method is invalid to begin with. Stick to known facts, verifiable facts.
Now we're going to get into
what
dating
about the
methods.
Places where societies haven't died when you say the flood happened? Yeah.
They're built on top of the sediments that the flood put there.
No one knew about the flood in those societies.
Every civilization is built on top of the sediments from the global flood.
What sediments? Oh, foreskin.
What are you talking about?
Asking. Nestle, go ahead.
What sediments? What the hell? There is no global flood layer where you have like a civilization below and a completely new one on top of it. You don't.
Yeah. Okay, so they go on about dating and let's see, using the math of how something happens, like the movement of gas molecules related to temperature, how mass. Maybe that was, I can't tell who's talking. Theory of gravity, fact. Okay, so we go ahead to, I don't know, should I jump ahead to my bookmarks?
Sure.
Well, maybe.
Okay.
We will never get through this otherwise. So,
TopDawg, if you have bookmarks.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh, well, you write them down if you and send them to me, and then I can put them in my little machine here. But okay.
I don't want to hear it too many times over. They're insanity.
Okay.
Yeah, well, definitely gets bogged down. And you're right, Nestle. There are times where we have not gotten through a video because of so many comments about it.
So we just bypassed a whole bunch of shit about radiocarbon dating and their whole spiel on that. And I'm not sure where we're at now, but let's see what I got.
What this guy is saying in the video?
Yeah, like with his explanations, I think he's trying to push what we call empiricism, but
it's not very philosophically informed, honestly.
Right.
It's like what you find in a high school textbook, if at that.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. So it's.
We have Danny here to explain that to us.
Yeah. Well, it's another take video. I don't expect there to be footnotes in it. I think it is for a, if not a high school audience, at least people who aren't as informed about scientific concepts.
Yeah, that's what I think it's good for.
Okay. So he did the video to inform the masses about the difference between fact theory and hypothesis. Okay.
Well, I have never seen that distinction between fact and theory. I mean, like 2 + 2 = 4 is a fact, right?
Have you gone to the SCP?
Look, it's definite that philosophers talk about what facts are, and it's an ambiguous term anyways, but I'm saying that the distinction as being part of philosophy of science doesn't exist.
Or between facts, laws, and theory? Between
facts and whatever. Like it presumably theories, it's like trying to find the distinction between, in this part of the section in the biology textbook, it distinguishes cats and mammals. Well, there's no such distinction. In terms of
one is a parent group and one is a daughter group.
Right, that might be a distinction, but there's no distinction between fact. Like you're not going to find a section of biology book differentiating mammals and cats.
Okay, but biology books do philosophy of science, but this thing where facts and laws are subsumed there under the I don't know.
Maybe accurate to say that theories are like a made of facts, multiple facts.
But every view that's taken is going to presumably have that, right? Like every view that you take is going to be built of facts, right? So I don't understand that distinction. Also, the distinction between laws and theories, that is actually very contentious ground, right? It's actually, but people in high school, that even myself, there's basically two ways of giving the distinction, but there are problems with that distinction.
What are the problems?
Well, let's say some I've heard understand theories to be explanatory, laws to be descriptive. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a sense in which laws do describe, and as if they were not true, there would be certain things that we would expect to see rather than if they weren't true. So there's some kind of like explanation work it's doing. So I've never really understood that distinction. I mean, only to the extent that like when we say something falls regularly, like things fall regularly to the ground, we can talk about all those observations and say that that's gravity, that's the law of gravity or something. But presumably that is to explain a uniformity. Anyways, there's that. The other way is where I find far more problematic is that there's like this hierarchy of, I guess, I don't know what word to use, but this hierarchy of views that there's like theory and then that can graduate to law. I don't hear that very often, but I've heard
that's not true either. Like
right, but science teachers use that. Some science teachers teach that, believe it or not, and but I think that's very problematic, right? So the distinction between law, like theories and laws, is a little bit nebulous at best.
Oh, I take the position that laws are descriptive and theories are explanatory. Like
yeah, I just don't see like. Does that mean therefore laws are non-explanatory?
No.
Okay, so you're saying that laws are explanatory and yet descriptive.
Laws are the math.
Laws are explanatory, particularly.
Yeah, you don't think that, Speed?
No.
Yeah,
laws are the math.
Okay, so take any law. If it weren't true, wouldn't we expect to see certain things about it, about the world?
If the description is not true, then there would something else that would be more accurate to describe it. So.
Right.
Okay, so that means there is a kind of sense of explanation there, right?
No.
What do you think? Do you think that?
Well, there's the inverse square law. That's explanatory.
Well, what does it explain? It explains how something's going to behave.
I don't know what I mean by explanation anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, an explanation would be like for biology, an explanation would be mutations. We know how they happen chemically by chemical laws. Okay, there are laws that basically describe chemistry, so we know that's how chemistry works, and that's descriptive. And with those laws, we explain how something happens.
When you know how it works, you can explain how it works.
Okay. Right. Then have you seen? Do you know Vsauce? I don't know, a famous YouTuber.
Yep.
Right.
1, 2, 3.
The normal Vsauce, they video called laws and causes, and I think that's a really good explain as well. Like you have one law that describes the relationship between the shadow of a pin with relation to the sun, right? So there's a relation between the shadow cast on the ground and the position on the sun. But you wouldn't say that the law causes the shadow. It would just say like, oh.
But there are wait. That's we're not talking past each other. I don't think explanation has to be causal.
No,
I think it kind of has to show you the steps.
Look, the idea. Let's say you can explain things logically. Like you could explain things logically. Right, there's no causal relations between.
How would you? Okay, explain. Basically, what the hell? Explain mutation logically.
Well, that might be a causal form of explanation, but the point is that there's non-causal and causal explanation, and it might be just that laws of nature are non-causal explanations.
Laws of nature are basically descriptive of the patterns that we see. And then from those, from smaller, from basically basic laws, we extend into the causal explanations.
Look, I'm not saying
and that's where we talk about causality.
I'm saying this, that there's a nuance here that I'm not quite getting when people make that distinction. Okay. Theories don't causally explain anything, right? I mean, like if I just give you a set of propositions that make predictions, I mean, those propositions are not going to be like engage in causal relations with the world, right? But then nonetheless, we point to those propositions as explanatory. Same with logical truths, right? when you do a proof, right, you can kind of get, there's that moment sometimes when you finish the proof of, oh, that's what explains why it follows from blah, blah, blah to that, such and such, right? I mean, there's a notion of explanation that's broad, right? And it's something that I think undermines that distinction between explanatory and descriptive. But look, a lot of people use that delineation. I don't think people are particularly crazy for using it. I just don't get it.
Okay. So if you have, basically you describe laws of electrochemistry with sodium and chlorine ions, right? And you put sodium and chlorine together and you end up with salt, that sort of thing. And you have theories of thermodynamics of that reaction and all of that. And that shows you the causal steps to get from sodium and chlorine to salt. So you take these laws and you create these causal steps. Okay, and causality is problematic to begin with, but it's very good because shit works that way. It looks like cause. We can put a bracket around that, not worry about causality, but our laws do hash out in these steps, and that's how evolution works. That's how natural selection is determined, basically with these small steps.
Yeah, you're not really helping me understand what it means to say X explains Y.
X explains Y. So the laws explain, basically, or the laws give you the steps that happened, and then that explains the result. So you look at the
law. You think that X explains Y is different than X describes Y. Okay. Those I take this to be different, okay? And they're different kinds of explanation. We could talk about X explains Y non-causally versus causally, okay? And then we could talk about X describing Y, but it seems like if X describes Y, that's a semantic, not literally like semantic dispute. Just seems like for instance, the proposition things fall down describes cases in which things fall down. I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Okay, well, you got a loss there.
Can I use an analogy? Like, if you have a map that describes a place, does the map explain the place?
No, I would say it would describe it. It's representing it. I take descriptions to be representative.
Yeah. Okay, so Danny, when you say X describes Y, okay, you're talking about a law. Some law that we found, basically something that happens causally. It looks causal because we can see it happening regularly. So it's regularity. So you have laws. But then when you say, okay, then let's say A explains B. Well, that explanation that A explains B is not just that one line. It's not that one law. It is a series of a whole lot of stuff in between, right? So it expands. So the explanatory theory is much longer and deeper, and it consists of these regularities. So that's kind of what you're missing.
No, I'm not. I'm still, look, you're just, X describes Y. Someone in here admitted that means that X represents Y. Okay. Okay, now if that's true, then when you're saying laws describe, okay, then you're saying something like the laws of nature represent the world, and I don't know what that means.
I didn't say the laws of nature represent the world.
Okay, well then tell me what describe means. Don't give me an example. Tell me what the term means.
Okay, look what the video says, what the guy says, in the
describe video. Is noting a regularity. Okay, and that becomes a law. If it's regular, like gravity, we can mathematically work out the acceleration of gravity, then that becomes that is a law. So it's the law of gravity. But if you're going to explain why the apple fell off the tree, you're going to need to go a whole lot further than just say the law of gravity, even though we could offer that up as a pat explanation, right? We say the apple falls because of the law of gravity. Well, why didn't the apple fall yesterday? Right. So I mean, there's a lot more to basically an explanation like evolution. It doesn't just consist of one law.
That makes much more sense to me. I appreciate it. You're saying something like when we talk about a law, we're noting a regularity. But then I don't know. It seems like why not just talk about regularities, right? That why need a further description? So the law
because it's more because of the multiple directions and there are multiple sources of any causality of any explanation of something that happens like evolution. You can't just offer up one law. And I think that's where you stumble on natural selection.
No, that's not.
No,
I use Photo's argument for natural selection.
Okay, we can't just have one law to describe how to be an explanation for a theory.
We're digressing.
You're not going to find a law of evolution. You're not going to find one law. You're going to find a complex of interacting causality, basically.
Yeah, I accept that for non-scientific ventures like psychology.
Not for scientific ventures.
No, well then there's a problem, right? If it's not reducible to regularity, as you're saying, then I think
it is.
You're talking about randomness or something.
But it is.
That's what laws are for.
Right? Then there's no problem, right? But you're saying that you just said if it's reducible to regularity, then there's going to be laws, right, that describe that regularity. But then you said there were no laws.
Do we want to continue to get bogged down on this topic, or do we want to advance?
Well, the video is good for
just listen to
you're 15 years old or something.
Well, let's listen to what else Danny says in the video, and then we'll listen. Do we get into his explanation later? TopDawg?
I don't talk remember. For very long. I think this is this. I think I briefly say something.
Yeah, for just a few minutes. Okay, let's play it.
It's philosophically absent of things.
Yeah, I think so. Like the whole distinction between laws and theories, for instance, is actually kind of that people say all sorts of things about it. Some people say laws describe, theories explain, and it's just not. It's all a mess. It's a giant mess, but people just kind of make up stuff for the classroom, you know.
Well, do you accept his definition that the difference between a law and a theory is a theory has a lot of evidence to back it up, and a law is a mathematical model?
The problem, both are substantiated based on empirical. Like, look here. I think he made a couple mistakes, and I don't remember the whole video. I've been kind of like half paying attention. But one of the mistakes he's making is that empirical findings are not the same thing as scientific findings.
Oh,
when you go outside, you did make that mistake. See a tree, you're not doing science.
What? You made that mistake. Empirical findings are not scientific findings. Not necessarily, but all scientific findings are empirical, but not all empirical findings are scientific.
Okay, did he actually make that mistake?
Well, I'm accusing him, and I'm citing that like I haven't really been paying attention, but that's what I remember in the video. Maybe y'all have actually seen it more than once.
No, I haven't. So I don't know if he made that mistake or not. But
well, I'm fine with saying that's what I remembered. I could be misremembering.
Okay, when you say that all empirical findings are not scientific findings, give me an example. What do you mean?
Like an empirical finding that's not scientific?
Yeah.
Oh, like when I see an animal in pain or something.
Okay. Yeah. You spotted a spider crawling across your carpet. And that was an empirical finding. Okay. Yeah. I doubt he made that mistake, but he may have. Okay.
Science. Okay. If you're wondering whether your dog crapped in your bedroom door and you look at the crap, you're not doing science. Okay. Just because you've observed something does not make it science. Okay. So
thank you.
It was a hypothesis.
The reason that the dog craps.
Yeah, but look, the idea is that if I want to know whether my dog crapped in the downstairs living room, right? And I go down and I see, it smells bad and I see a bunch of crap on the floor. Do you think I'm like, you think that's some kind of sophisticated?
Danny, what's wrong with your brain?
What did I say? Anything you disagree with?
No, it's just your choice of examples often makes me wonder what is wrong with you.
Oh, I don't get it.
You might have had the experience in real life. It's the closest thing you can think of.
Crap is very heavily on my mind at all times because I have two dogs.
Danny, your choices are crap.
Okay.
Your choices are crap.
Yeah, your choices are crap, Danny.
Oh, okay.
I was joking. I was joking, by the way.
Just saw
I wasn't.
I think what happened is I saw TopDawg's little avatar, and then I just came up with that. That's what happened.
Danny just described my life every day. I walk into the house, I smell crap. Oh my God, which one of you two dogs crapped on my carpet?
Okay.
Never?
No, you passed. That hypothesis passed, didn't it?
So the point is that it's true that Empirical claims generate predictions. Like if my dog crapped downstairs, I'm going to smell something. I'm going to see a pile of poop, whatever. It's going to be brown, whatever, yeah. So science relies on those sorts of reasonings, right? What you can generate from a particular proposition, like my dog crapped in the room, that's going to generate predictions, but that's not sufficient, I don't think, for science, right?
I'm with TopDawg on this one.
You have multiple hypotheses, and you cross out
the
one.
He's the only dog in the house, and he did it.
And if you have different hypotheses than the ones that match reality, then those aren't the ones that pass. Then wouldn't that make sense? I mean, about other things, not
There's
just
so many, right? But here's the problem. But you presuppose that you understand reality. What is reality? What does that mean? Are you talking material, physical reality? So you just throw buzzwords out that you don't philosophically justify. Oh, it just comports with reality. What the hell does that mean? I mean, my reality. How do you know my reality is the same as your reality?
Words are descriptions, and we have understanding of what definitions are. We have to write down which definition that we're talking about.
It's just naturalists assume these things.
Okay, guys, I'll catch y'all later. Foreskin or whatever. I hate saying that word. I'll catch y'all later. I have to go eat something.
Okay, Danny.
Well, actually, I have to get going too because I had to move somebody. Move somebody.
Okay, we can end it.
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of bookmarks here, and if we just went to the bookmarks, I think we catch the gist of it if you want to continue this. But we hardly ever continue these things after we quit them. So,
well, you can continue it without me, can't you?
We'll see what happens. I'm kind of at the point where I want to go eat something too. So I think we've been. How long we been on here?
Hour 16 as we speak.
What's that?
I'm eating something as we stream.
I see. Okay. I don't do that. I have to watch TV while I eat. I don't know why, but I do. Ever since we voted the wife off the island in '94, we watched ate while we watched TV. It's a habit. Anyway, okay. Yeah. But we can end this for now, and we can return to it at a later date. I do have bookmarks.
Good topic to discuss.
They'll have new things they're gonna just repeat, or it's not gonna be new, really. But.
Yeah, well, there were a few points I wanted to get to with Argotha, where he claims to have really studied abiogenesis. When did he do that? In the last month? Because I don't know. Anyway,
well, Praise did a stream yesterday by himself for the 7 videos that after this.
Yeah, he did a little short clip from this, right? Or something, and then he did a stream last night where he forbade evolution to be the topic.
Yeah, but I'm saying a whole video that he did with 7 videos that I had challenged for him.
Oh, he did. Okay. Okay, guys, let's end this.
Yep.
Agree?
Yep.
Okay, goodbye, cool world. We're just going to shut the broadcast off abruptly.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for stopping in.